The MCU debate is back. Do these movies kill the concept of the movie star? Bob Iger returns to Disney. We say goodbye to a famed singer and a beloved ranger. And we give our full thoughts on Bones and All. All today. Welcome to the madness. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. Hello, the Morgan.
Hello, the Machine. How are we? How are you? How am I? How are you? I don't know why I always start off the show by saying a weird kind of how are we situation. I just try and include everybody. Hello,
yes, I appreciate
guys,
that.
listening and watching Monday Madness. I'm fine, Jeannine. I certainly hope you are too, and I certainly hope you guys listening and watching are as well. Of course, we do have some interesting things to get into today. A fun Let's Talk, actually. I mean, the Let's Talk is our review of the new movie Bones and All.
Yes.
Which isn't necessarily a fun movie, actually, is it? I suppose it's quite a miserable movie, quite a sad movie, a very emotional movie. But it'll be a fun discussion. I certainly think it'll be a fun discussion because we have a related game as well after that.
Yes.
And in the sense of, well, we didn't want to necessarily say cannibal movies, but people eating people movies.
Yes.
Because Bones and All is, of course, a cannibal movie. It is. They are, Timothee Chalamet, Taylor Russell. Basically, everybody in the movie is cannibal. Or most people.
Yes.
But that is what we're talking about in the Let's Talk. But we do have those interesting What's Up discussions to get into beforehand. Unfortunately, Jeannine, you have not allowed me to talk at any length or even at all about the World Cup that's currently going on because you don't want to talk about football.
I mean, you are welcome to share your thoughts on that. I will not be able to contribute much in terms of responses, but if you want to share your excitement for football, I do not want to take that away from you.
Well, my excitement for football is there, but obviously, like most people, the World Cup in November and December is weird. Nobody likes that, and it's horrible. The World Cup being in Qatar is weird. Nobody likes that, and it's horrible. Not the fact it's in the Middle East, the fact it was done in a backhanded payment way, originally anyway.
Yeah.
That's weird. That you may not be aware of, to be fair, Jeannine. Basically, FIFA, the governing body of world football, took backhanded bribes in order to actually get the World Cup in Qatar, and now the World Cup is in Qatar.
Oh my gosh, sounds scandalous.
It was very scandalous at the time, but they had to carry on with it and actually put it there. So that's where we're at now, and that's why it's in the middle of winter and not in summer like normal. It's also, it's a weird tournament actually so far. Anyway, although England did play the USA on last Friday, it was actually a boring 0-0 draw. So nobody won. Nobody won. Nobody has any bragging rights here. But that is all I will mention on the World Cup, as we will be in the last round of group stage games at this point. Actually, I think, which is always fun to see who goes through into the knockout rounds to the serious win or go home games.
Okay.
And it's always fun. I mean, I started this World Cup thinking, dodgy, weird World Cup in November and December, fake World Cup, artificial World Cup that's done on backhanded bribes. I'm not going to watch any of it. And have I watched every single game I possibly could have? Of course I have. Because it's the World Cup, and this is just what you do. You're just
devoted. That's what you do as a fan. Yes.
Random games. I had a little bit of Tunisia versus Australia on before. Not a particularly great game, but you just put it on.
Yes. That's fair.
Because it's what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah.
That is all I will mention on that. I will ask the question we like to ask at the beginning of the episode, Jeannine, and say, "So, Jeannine, so."
We have a couple things up today, Morgan.
Mm.
Something I didn't mention is this crazy ranking of all the Marvel films from The Hollywood Reporter.
Yes, I feel like, I mean, I know we often like to start with the negatives, with the sad things, really, but
This list is kind of sad.
It is really. I don't mind starting with this list. I don't know how much time we're going to spend on it. I think, was this list published earlier in November, but has kind of been doing the rounds a little bit?
I believe so.
And I've only just come across it. I think that there's been similar ones to this in the past. I don't know if it's been from the Hollywood Reporter or like a Screen Rant or someone like that. That are just weird. Like, these are clearly done to
outrage people.
To outrage people. To get, some would say get conversation going. Well, you would say get arguments going.
Yes,
because
I mean, it
some
starts
of these
pretty,
things.
It starts pretty normal. Like it's 70 movies. So you have your like Howard the Ducks and your Fat Four Sticks at the bottom.
Yes.
Your early Captain America with J.D. Salinger's son in it.
Oh yes, that's
your
right,
Electras in the low 60s.
I think isn't the bottom one, the very bottom one, Man Thing from 2005?
Yes.
A movie I've never seen, but I kind of really want to.
Yes. Then you get into this is where you're kind of raising an eyebrow or two. Number 65 is the Fantastic Four movie, the 1994 one that they only made so that they could hold on to the rights of the film.
Wait a minute. You mean Roger Corman's unreleased Fantastic Four movie? That doesn't count.
So the one right below that 64 is Fantastic Four 2005, which by no means is, not an amazing superhero movie, but definitely not
on par with an actually unreleased movie.
Exactly.
But it's famously corny.
Yes. So that's where you kind of get, and it's below Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher from 1980.
Where's Morbius?
And it's also below the Ghost Rider sequel.
Oh.
So, that's where you're kind of, Morbius is up there. Way more up there than it probably should be.
There's no reason for it. The only reason they're doing it is to annoy people. And so, in fact, we've played into their hands by even having this conversation.
Yes, Morbius is above X-Men Origins Wolverine.
No,
X-Men The Last Stand.
And I mean, X-Men The Last Stand has some good things in it.
Yes. Morbius is 53 on this list.
Wow.
Blade, the movie responsible for the boom of superhero movies, 52. Right below Morbius.
Wow. Phenomenal. What are some glaring ones further up the list? Like, why is that so high? Ones.
The New Mutants is 50. Oh. Spider-Man 3 is 51.
Okay, I mean, people overly hate on Spider-Man 3. I've always thought that.
But guess what's 49?
I mean, I wouldn't know. There's 75 Marvel movies.
Dark Phoenix.
Oh, I never saw Dark Phoenix, actually.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I mean, it's not
47.
Great.
Lower than Venom at 46. Iron Man 3 is 45.
Iron Man 3 is 45.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, 43.
Yes, it shouldn't be that low, though, should it? It really shouldn't.
But it's lower than X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, no. But also, like, I'm still thinking about Blade. Like the first Blade.
Hulk is 41.
Ang Lee's Hulk.
Yes, is 40.
So Ang Lee's Hulk. Oh, I mean, I like Ang Lee's Hulk. I have a fondness for Ang Lee's Hulk. You know that.
I know you do. X-Men First Class. 37.
No. Where? No.
Avengers Endgame. 36. Thor, the first Thor movie. 35.
I could do this all day. This is you shouting rankings and me just going, no, this is phenomenal content.
34.
Now, I distinctly disagree. You know full well, Jeannine, I am Team
Love and Thunder.
Eternals.
32.
I am Team Eternals.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yes.
I think Eternals is a great movie. Yes, it's bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Infinity War. 31.
Hold on. Thor: Love and Thunder's above Endgame now.
Yes.
32.
32. Yes.
No. Thor: Love and Thunder.
And just below, it's just below Avengers Infinity War at 31.
Oh, I want to know what's weird ones have made like the top 20. Please,
okay. All right.
Enlighten me.
Shang-Chi is 30.
Shang-Chi's a good movie.
The Wolverine, 29.
No.
Iron Man 2, 28.
There's no,
X-Men,
absolutely not.
Days of Future Past, 27.
How
The Amazing Spider-Man, 26.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make a shred of sense.
Yes. Okay, so we're getting to the top 20. Okay, I'll go 25. Okay. Thor Ragnarok, 25.
Well, Thor Ragnarok's a good movie. Yes, we like it.
Spider-Man, No Way Home, 24.
Yes, we're a good movie. We
Doctor
like it.
Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 23.
Probably shouldn't be this high above some of those glaring ones lower down.
Spider-Man Far From Home, 22.
Shouldn't be that high.
No. Deadpool, 21.
Is a good movie. We like Deadpool.
Deadpool 2, 20.
He's not as good as Deadpool 1.
Guardians of the Galaxy, 19.
So he's a good movie, yes.
Captain America, the First Avenger.
We like some love for Captain America, the First Avenger.
Big Hero 6, 17.
Oh, I forgot about Big Hero 6.
Avengers, Age of Ultron, 16.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's. Look, I just think some of the
Ant-Man and the Wasp, 15.
Jeannine, behave yourself, please.
Sorry, I'm not. This is the list. Captain America: Civil War, 14. Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, 13.
A very good movie. We like it.
Logan, 12.
A very good movie. We like it.
Ant-Man, 11 over Logan.
Why do they love Ant-Man? Especially Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is a deeply forgettable movie.
This is where I'm upset. Number 10. Doctor Strange. Over Logan.
That's over a lot of those. I mean, it's good, but no, it shouldn't be nowhere close to being there.
Number 9. X-Men.
All right, X-Men's a good movie. We like X-Men.
8. X2.
We like X2 as well, and it is better. Oh, contain
Number
yourself,
7.
Jeannine.
Number 7. Captain Marvel.
Frighteningly high. A perfectly good movie, but what?
But above some of those other ones?
What is it doing?
Above Logan? Above Endgame? Above Infinity War?
Of the first 2 X-Men movies? In fact, above all X-Men movies?
Yes. Spider-Man, number 6.
We like Spider-Man. We do like Spider-Man.
Number 5, Winter Soldier.
Yes, we do like that.
Number 4, Iron Man.
I mean, yeah, you're doing it off of kind of importance now, aren't you? I think.
Yes. 3, Black Panther.
Yes, we like Black Panther. Yes.
2, Spider-Man 2.
We tough to argue that Spider-Man 2 has to be up there.
And number 1, The Avengers.
It's just nowhere close to being the best Marvel movie.
Yes. So this list was just very kind of all over the place. Like, you start out like, okay, Man Thing, you know,
How the Duck.
weird Captain America movie.
Yeah.
With his rubber helmet. Howard the Duck, yes. And then it just kind of goes sideways a little bit.
It really does. I mean, thank God they've just stuck to movies as well there. Because if they'd have thrown the TV in as well, we really struggle to kind of put stuff in.
Tough.
Lists are always very tough for me to do. I mean, I'm just baffled by the Ant-Man stuff, really. I like Ant-Man. I do. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to Quantumania. And Captain Marvel.
Blade is like responsible. We wouldn't have half of this stuff without Blade.
Blade's a great movie as well.
So to be,
I know it's a little movie,
way below some of these other ones is crazy. Whew, yeah.
And Deadpool 2 is not better than Deadpool.
No, it's not
at all.
No, definitely.
It's good, but it's not better than the first one.
No.
It's I'm very confused.
Yes,
I'm very confused. I suppose this is before Wakanda Forever came out as well, because I didn't notice this.
No, it wasn't on there.
Mainly, it's confusing the non-MCU ones are kind of the more baffling inclusions when you try and merge them with some of the MCU ones, MCU proper ones. I just like that the two really good Spider-Mans are up there.
Yeah.
I like that. The X-Men, the first two X-Men are up there. But First Class and Days of Future Past are too
lower. Yeah. Logan, having some of these things before Logan was beautiful. It was a great movie. Well made, great storytelling. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Bizarre. I have certainly far from watched all the Marvel movies ever made. Some of those lower down ones I certainly have gone nowhere near.
You're not a Man Thing stan.
But I kind of want to be. Man Thing genuinely does intrigue me.
Yeah.
But 1990s Captain America, I've got absolutely no intention of ever watching that movie.
Yeah.
And I also love Roger Corman's unreleased Fantastic Four coming just next to actual
Fantastic Four from 2005. Yeah.
That is a fine movie.
I love that movie. I love that early era of superhero films.
It's a cheese fest, but there's nothing wrong with it.
And the look of the characters is pretty good. The origin of the characters is pretty well done.
I do think the Thing looks a little bit silly. I can only imagine that the MCU's Thing is going to look pretty good. They're going to kind of Thanosify, I think, the Thing, aren't they?
The fact that you're delving into this new era of superhero films and you're actually choosing to do some practical shit.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about X-Men with the Mystique makeup and with the Thing makeup.
It's also what Rebecca Romijn and Jennifer Lawrence hated about Mystique.
Yes, but Rebecca Romijn was a little more positive about the experience.
She was, Jennifer Lawrence thoroughly hated every second of being in that makeup chair.
Yeah.
For Mystique. Even though I think she was a good Mystique, I think I do.
She got a little kind of lazy towards the end, but
reasonably so, because they kept forcing her to do it, and she.
Well, she signed that contract. Nobody.
She did. She did contractually obliged. She did.
Yes.
But I think she was. She's always more interesting when she's doing weird smaller things. I think I like Jennifer Lawrence anyway.
Yeah,
I kind of always have. But yeah, that's a deeply weird list to start us off with today, Jeannine. Yeah. I'm very, very confused. I suppose, can we move on from the confusion? Can we move on from the confusion, please? I don't know where to go next now. My mind's all discombobulated thinking about movies and rankings and where to put things.
We are talking about Marvel, so we can get into Quentin Tarantino kind of re-spurring this kind of debate and this conversation about Marvel and how it's kind of destroying film. You know, we have people like J-Lo kind of coming out and making comments about how, you know, it's harder to get smaller movies made or to get smaller movies seen because you have nothing but these big MCU blockbusters kind of coming out. But I don't think that's wholly true.
I think people take comments like that has been made here because isn't Tarantino's actual comment, and because I know he's been on this kind of tour for this book he's got out,
and I think he has a podcast now too as well.
Does he? That's a good thing. It lets. I mean, Tarantino's got a lot of, I suppose, intelligent things to say, a lot of insightful things to say. He's obviously an incredibly, you know, he's a student of movie making.
Yeah, so he makes him a bit of a film historian in a way that he kind of studies films in a sense.
He is. He's got a very unique mind, really, hasn't he?
Yes.
And I mean, giving him a podcast is just an excuse for all the. And I was there at one point, of course. It's an excuse for all the 14-year-old film fans to just worship something.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's like a podcast he does with his friend who he used to work in like old video stores with, and so they kind of, you know, will pick a movie, you know, that, you know, you would rent from the video store and kind of talk about it.
I see. Okay. I think these comments he has actually made though are more about the kind of movie star aspect and the fact that in modern movie making, and I think this statement is very, very true for the most part, in modern movie making, the biggest movie stars are the characters. And he specifically used Chris Evans as Captain America. People go for Captain America. They don't necessarily go for Chris Evans. Now, he's not saying Chris Evans is not a good actor. He's not saying Chris Evans is not great as Captain America.
It's just you see Captain America first, not Chris Evans as Captain America.
Is correct.
It's Captain America played by Chris Evans.
100% it is. And I think that's a very, very accurate statement. I don't see any issue with this. I think people are trying to take it too extreme because the MCU is far from the worst thing to ever happen to movies, but it's far from the best thing to ever happen to movies.
Yes,
and people seem to go on one extreme side of that argument, and I don't like that. You've got to have more depth of thought about it.
Yes, and if any small movie doesn't do well, it's blamed on the MCU films. But there are several small films that are successful. Blumhouse, the Jason Blum model.
Blumhouse and A24.
Yes, of these small movies that cost $2 to $4 million. You know, maybe $10 million tops, and to come in and make loads because of, you know, really creative directors and letting them kind of guide their storytelling and interesting original stories, interesting original horror, interesting original characters, and they're making bank. So I think
some people are bitter.
Yes.
Some people are bitter.
Her little rom-com didn't do very well because it just wasn't that good. I'm sorry to say.
Well,
but it's easy to kind of just blame it on something that is more successful.
And I think that is where it comes to. I think there may be more reasons at play as to why, you know, that movie and some smaller movies don't do as well. And it probably has got a lot to do with the nature of our big movies, but it's not specifically.
It's not solely that
Marvel's fault, is it? It's just some movies are large movies. This has always been the case. Some movies are huge budget movies that can afford to be played in all these screens across a great deal of time that other movies can't. There is that structure. There's always been that structure, even with the Hollywood studio system going into now. There's always been that structure of budgeting of a movie studio that we're going to give more to this movie because we see more in this movie. If anything, you want to blame the producers behind the movie for not pushing it as passionately as you might want it to be pushed.
Because some of these smaller films don't have like a good kind of promotion budget either, so that's why they don't get
that's
seen.
why.
But also, it's a different kind of formatting. Like, you had movie stars in those days because movies were created with a specific star in mind. So the movie didn't really matter. It was about the person. You're gonna make a movie called Demolition Man for Sylvester Stallone. You're not gonna have a movie called Demolition Man and just cast anybody. But with a Marvel movie, you're working with not original characters that you're making up for a specific star. You're working with established characters that everybody knows. So that's why that's what you're going to see first, because of the format of how that movie works. You're going to see the character first before the star. Whereas in the era of movie stars, particularly like the 90s, you had movies that were made with a particular star in mind. So the star came first. So it's a wholly different kind of casting format.
100% it is.
The movie star, I think, plays into that as well.
100% it is. And when you look at that kind of thing, you mention Stallone, you can mention Schwarzenegger, you can mention Jean-Claude Van Damme, all these, you know, the era
Julia
of
Roberts,
Roberts, even if you want to go, but the era of the macho 80s action star is very much that. You know, you went to the Schwarzenegger movie. You didn't care what it was. It was the Schwarzenegger movie. Now, that was then. I even look further back, and literally every movie's just made, put, you know, whoever in it. Put Henry Fonda in this. That'll be fun. People like him. It'll be weird to see him in this slightly different role, perhaps. Or do we just have everybody play to their strengths or kind of what they want to do? Because the studio system, old Hollywood, curated images around people, not characters, not necessarily movies, stories. The story had to be good most of the time, but the story didn't have to be good to make the money. The person just had to be liked to make the money. And the actor. This is why I live, when I'm talking about movies, mentioning no character names and just saying
talking about the actors.
Because I am obviously an old Hollywood lover. I'm an old movie lover. I come in wanting to watch a Cary Grant movie. Look at the two behind me. I come in wanting to watch a Cary Grant movie. I come in wanting to watch a Katharine Hepburn movie. Who they're playing doesn't matter to me before I've seen the movie. It's just, it matters to me what they're doing in that movie.
But I think that plays to, you know,
are doing movie.
And I think you can still craft the idea of the movie star without it kind of being an MCU thing. Just look at Tom Cruise. People go to see Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible movies because they know what he's going to do in those movies. He is somebody who does their own stunts, who does all these things, and you're going through the spectacle of what you know he's capable of doing in these movies with a character that he has curated from the start.
Do you think so?
Embody that movie star aspect because you know what he is going to do in these movies, and you're going for that, what this specific person can do.
Do you think though, even he, as someone a lot of people refer to as kind of the last movie star, even he, really, his most successful things, I'm talking budget wise, maybe not even critically acclaimed. I mean, this statement, this discussion really all comes down to what makes the money, not necessarily what the best movie is, because I still think the best movie of 2022 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like 100% it is. And it should be sweeping every award, but it might not. And it saddens me that it might not, and we might be getting, you know, your more standard fare doing that. But it's still, for my money, the best movie this year. I think it's the best movie, the best new movie that I've seen in many years. And I
original idea and great performances, and you know, very much an interesting new thing that people really loved.
Certainly far from the highest earning movie of the year, is it? So it's not about critical acclaim. It is about what makes the most money. And unfortunately, Tarantino's perfectly correct. Scorsese says very, very similar things. Scorsese, I mean, is a ridiculously passionate film historian and film preservationist.
Yeah.
I think even more so than Tarantino is. Scorsese's obsessed with preserving movies, finding kind of half lost movies or interesting things from around the world. He loves that kind of stuff, which is why it kind of saddened me a little bit to see Simu Liu come out, obviously who plays Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
On Twitter, not being aggressive about it or anything like that, but he's kind of very much on the side of well, look at all the great things that Marvel have done. I think he's misconstrued the idea because simply the example of Marvel was used when really Tarantino was talking about a more general idea.
Yes, but then I think it just stems from other people's comments.
It does.
Which other, acclaimed filmmakers have kind of alluded to and kind of brought in the kind of discrediting of MCU films in terms of not telling emotional stories with real character kind of feeling behind them. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that people take, fans and the actors involved take offense to. Because if you watch those movies, there is a lot of kind of care put into generating real human emotion.
Well, certainly in some of them.
Fantastical characters. Yeah, some more than others.
Some more than others, but that's the case with every movie.
So yes, I feel like that's kind of the biggest point, I think, where people take offense from is when there's this implication that there's no depth in these movies. Because some of these movies do delve into some very deep kind of emotional aspects, and you see these characters go through emotional struggles, even though they're kind of these fantastical superheroes. So when those kinds of comments, I think, come into play is where it kind of triggers people who are involved in these movies.
Yes.
And that's kind of where the other parts of what they're saying get lost, because that's kind of the loudest statement.
Yes.
Comes through, I think.
And you can understand it. And I understand, obviously, where Simu Liu's coming from.
Yeah.
He's talking a lot about, the diversity aspect of what the MCU has done and how it's helped this massive budget, Shang-Chi
having an Asian lead, and you would not get that in any other, you don't see that really happening or having that opportunity in other kinds of films, particularly that golden age, particularly that golden era of Hollywood.
Which is a correct statement. I think there's too much specificity being used in these, in some of these people's arguments that weren't there in the original discussion point.
Yeah.
Because no, you didn't, and that is obviously an issue with old Hollywood. We on the main show we talk about that kind of stuff. We like finding the stuff that does actually show a little bit of, discussion on race or discussion on some taboo matters. But you also have to realize that doesn't necessarily you can go and watch pre-code movies. Go and watch pre-code movies that are actually more able and do showcase a lot more variety of things.
Yeah.
There is a political system at play in old Hollywood. I think it's uneducated to suggest that back then movies weren't diverse. There's actually reasons behind it, and it's not down to the filmmakers not wanting to do it a lot of the time.
Yeah, there was
down to the fact that there's literally they could not do it legally.
Yeah.
Which is sad, and there's certainly still great movies made back then. I think of when we talked things like Cabin in the Sky, which is a great weird little movie with an all-black cast from 1943.
Yeah.
That's, go and watch that movie. It's a wonderful movie.
Or even stuff like Blackula in terms of blaxploitation.
Exactly.
But that movie trying to do elevated things with Black characters and fighting to have just people of different races on a dance floor together.
Yeah,
You know,
look, it's a discussion. The idea of the history of diversity in movies is it's always an interesting discussion to have, because he's not wrong to say that old Hollywood is very white. Of course it is. It's ridiculously white. But it is wrong to suggest that
that's all Tarantino was saying, or even what kind of he was getting at. Yeah.
Of course it is. It's very wrong to suggest that. And it's also wrong to suggest that the only reason, you can show your face on a screen in a big budget movie is because of the MCU. Because people like Scorsese made things like the movie Kundun, the Dalai Lama movie from 97, I think it was, that got shunned. It got, you can't find it anywhere. It didn't get promoted. But the fact is, it was made, and it was made with care, and it was an entirely Tibetan cast.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff from a massive, massive director. So the things do still get made, and it's not on the same, it's not on the same massive budget level, but it's just wrong to suggest that this is now the beginning of it, because it's just not the beginning of it.
Yeah. Yes,
it's been going on for decades.
It's a great effort and a great opportunity.
Of course it is.
That we don't see very often, but it's not to say that it never happens, or there's not ever an effort to make these things happen.
So look, I understand his points, and I have sympathy for it. I don't land on kind of any side of it. I just kind of, I don't necessarily enjoy having this discussion, to be honest, because I don't like when it kind of comes up, because again, I'm on the side of the MCU is not the best thing to ever happen to the movie industry, and it is not the worst thing to ever happen to the movie industry. And if you think either of those things, you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
You educate yourself a little bit more if you think either of those things.
Yeah.
And also don't take people's comments out of context.
Yes, and don't let that kind of take away what you feel about something.
No.
Just because he feels that way about the MCU doesn't take away that you love it and you find depth and nuance and creative filmmaking in those films.
Because they are there in those films. Of course they're there in those films. So many people believe them to be. So many people share that opinion.
Yeah.
Of course, there's wonderful movie making in the MCU. There's also fairly mediocre movie making in the MCU. But there's wonderful movie making outside of that, and fairly mediocre movie making outside of that.
Yeah.
It's not specific. It's not specific.
Yeah.
It is a bigger picture idea, a bigger picture conversation. And there is absolutely nothing incorrect about that simple comment that Tarantino made, that the characters are what makes the money in today's Hollywood, not the actors, because it's very much true.
The characters, yes. I agree with that in terms of, I wish people kind of would have taken the time to kind of really think about what he was saying and not jump to the kind of, immediate, he's bashing on them.
Because it's just,
I think there was a little bit of truth to what he was saying. Yeah. Yes.
There is. And like I said, Scorsese has also kind of come out with similar kind of comments, hasn't he? He doesn't like these superhero movies, famously, Scorsese. He doesn't like that the biggest movies are unoriginal, basically, does he? I mean, but why is that a wrong opinion to have? It's not a wrong opinion to have.
And it doesn't take away your
person's opinion.
Yeah.
And it's a very respected person's opinion as well, which obviously adds more weight to it.
Yeah.
But the reason people get angry about it, the reason these discussions even come up to the point where we kind of wanted to talk about this on this show, is because people are so goddamn insecure about their own opinions on things that they have to
need
feel
that validation. Yes, and need that
validation.
validation from somebody who's so acclaimed like that,
When you don't, all you need is the validation from yourself to justify
to
your own
enjoy what
opinion.
you enjoy and feel how you want to feel about certain films. So, yeah.
It's I like some movies that people consider dreadful.
Yeah.
Some people hate old Hollywood movies simply because they're black and white. Oh, that movie's terrible. It's in black and white. It's boring. Nothing could be further from my truth, but it's their truth.
Yeah.
I think it's a fairly close-minded opinion, but it's their opinion, so you can't necessarily argue with it. You just kind of got to say, well, try and be a little bit open-minded. But if they don't want to be,
these movies,
if they don't want to be, then you're not going to change their mind.
Yeah.
Unless one time they do end up putting something
on and giving
movie.
It a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is what we all have to do. Maybe Scorsese just has to go and watch, one of the great MCU movies, and maybe he will go,
he'll find
there is actually good stuff here.
Yeah.
And maybe, Simu Liu has to go and watch some old Hollywood movies and think, there actually is some good stuff here. I'm not specifying it's just Simu Liu. He just happened to come out quite vocally about it. I have a lot of respect for Simu Liu. I think he does great things, and I look forward to seeing him in the future. I'm certainly not one of these people that now are hating on Simu Liu and wanting him be gotten rid of. Like,
I understand his defense of what he feels passionate about. I do understand where he's coming from.
Of course. Fun discussion. Interesting ideas to get into. Jeannine, what else do we have in the What's Up today?
We have some pretty sad losses. This was one we missed last show because, it happened a little bit after we recorded. And then a more recent one that just happened. Irene Cara, who sang, 2 Oscar-winning songs in Fame and What a Feeling from Flashdance. She recently passed away at age 63. And then a bit ago, we lost Jason David Frank, who was a Power Ranger, and he was the Green Ranger and then the White Ranger. I think he became the Red Ranger in later iterations, but
he's every Power Ranger.
Yes, I grew up watching him as Tommy, the Green Ranger, and then the White Ranger in later iterations in the Power Ranger movie. So I grew up watching him, and just, in conventions, he was very kind of motivational and positive, and people really loved him, and he inspired a lot of people, and he was a great martial artist and really was passionate about that Power Rangers brand, and people would say that he's their hero just because of his attitude towards life, and kind of things he would say were just really positive towards people. He really cared about people. To see kind of all of the cast that he worked with really just putting out these beautiful posts about him, it's just really heartbreaking because he was a huge part of a lot of people's childhoods, mine in particular. I grew up watching Power Rangers, getting to see characters like Aisha being this Black Power Ranger with braids, and so Yellow Ranger, I'm all about her. And so that made me really kind of love what that show was doing growing up. And he was just a great character. He was the leader of the Power Rangers, and just a really positive person. So it was really sad to see him kind of, lose his life in that way. Kind of in getting into details about it. I guess he was going through a divorce. Him and his wife were at a hotel. They had separate rooms. They had gotten into a really big, ugly fight. And then he kind of just locked himself in his room. She was worried about him, got police to come and check. And that's when they found him. So, just really, really heartbreaking. And, you never know what people are going through. They could seem very, positive. And he's always professing these really positive things about, if there's something you want in life, you got to work for it, go for it. It's not about the money. It's about the passion. It's about, being happy with what you're doing. Like, he was always really about positive messaging. And so to kind of see that take for him it's just really, really sad. So it was a really tough loss for fans, for sure.
It is very sad, and you've got to respect people like that. You've got to respect people who put so much positivity out into the world. But like we say, it's often those kind of people that struggle on the inside,
Yeah.
and which is the tragedy of life, I suppose. Really, isn't it? To
Yeah.
be a bit philosophical about it. But I have absolutely no affinity to the Power Rangers whatsoever. That's beside the point, because all I'm hearing about Jason David Frank is just what a wonderful force of good he was, and what a
Yeah.
wonderful part of that Power Rangers brand he was. What, you know, the show, the movies, and just how loved he was. So I've got to respect that, and I understand the heartbreak. I understand the tragedy of the passing. It's, he was fairly young still, wasn't he? I don't know how old he was, but he
Yeah.
certainly
I think he
wasn't.
was in his 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't anywhere close to old, which makes it. I mean, you say it makes it doubly worse, but it makes it more tragic, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Shocking and unexpected.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very sad one. And then Irene Cara, obviously, who has kind of just died, 63, I think Irene Cara
Yeah.
was. It's no age either.
Yeah.
And of course, her legacy will live long on, very much like Jason David Frank's will do it in the Power Rangers world. Hers will live on in the movies and the music, in Flashdance and Fame.
Yes, two of the most like famous, beloved kind of dance movies and memorable movies, and yeah, Oscar-winning songs that she sang beautifully. So yeah, just some tough losses.
What is it about? Is it when they're dancing to Fame in Fame, in the street, when they're all
Yeah.
kind of doing that? But it's not actually Fame they were all dancing to. It was it Hot Stuff? Was it Donna Summer's Hot Stuff? They were
I
all
don't know. I
dancing
don't think
to.
I heard that.
I'm sure I've heard that, because they've got quite similar kind of beats.
And so they were just kind of, and the song maybe hadn't been recorded yet.
I think that's exactly the situation. I'm
Yeah.
sure I remember reading that somewhere at one
That's
time.
funny. That's too funny.
But no, they're great songs. They're great fun movies, both of them.
Yeah.
And they are wonderful, wonderful songs. They're songs you want to sing along to.
Yes.
And they
Motivational
definitely
songs.
very, very motivational. If you're in a downward funk, if you're feeling in a funk, put on one of those two. Put on one of those two movies, put on one of those two songs. You will get pepped up.
Yeah.
And this is the spirit and the legacy that Irene Cara will leave.
Yes.
And I love that. Again, though, I don't think at this point, or at the time of recording, we actually know the cause of her passing. So we can't speak on that, I suppose. But yeah, two significant losses this week. And we always like to pay our respects on Monday Madness whenever significant individuals in the world of entertainment do pass away.
Yes.
Because we like honouring people, honouring the positive people, the people who put positivity into the world.
Yes.
Which is always nice. Yes. Jason David Frank, Irene Cara, rest easy. And yes, you will live on. You will live on plenty. Do not fear. Do not have your spirits fear about that.
Yes.
You don't need to. But yes, I do think there's one more topic we have to talk about, though. And this is only a little bit of a news thing, but actually quite a significant incident. Because this is the power at Disney. Now, I know this episode has been phenomenally Marvel and Disney focused, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Ridiculously so. The power at Disney has reverted, Jeannine. This Bob Chapek dude is out the door.
Yes.
He was gotten rid of. he seemed to be doing a lot of weird things and making a lot of weird comments from what I could see. I've not looked too deep into it, to be honest with you. But he seemed to be like cutting down on animation and things like this. Surely shouldn't be what's going on at Disney. Why is he cutting down on animation? This is weird.
And apparently a little bit of cooking the books, as you would say.
Oh, was he fudging the numbers?
A little bit, because I think, you know, like original series that were supposed to kind of be released on Disney Plus first. Disney Plus has a different kind of budget type thing with their shows than the Disney Channel. So he would release them, even though they were supposed to go straight to Disney Plus, he would release them on the Disney Channel first to hide like the extra kind of budget things to make it look like the budget of those shows was less than it actually was.
Fudging the numbers.
Yes. So technically it's not kind of illegal because it's all under kind of the same umbrella, but the fact that he's kind of shifting money from one department to another one is a little bit shady. So I guess, yeah, that was kind of practices he was doing. And Bob Iger, I believe, was always on as a consultant. So he was kind of there, you know, he was getting paid as a consultant. So he was kind of in the picture and was always aware of every kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because I thought he
was doing.
I thought he left as CEO because basically he was kind of taking over way too much of his life and he wanted to kind of have a bit more freedom. Yeah. Now, he always came across as, I mean, as good as CEOs can possibly be, because I still don't trust anybody who's a CEO of such a massive corporation like that. There's something inherently untrustworthy, but he always came across as quite a positive force.
Yes, I believe today he's having a town hall, or he had a town hall for staff in Burbank at the Disney Studios to talk about not stuff with the parks and the kind of to address the low staffing and staffing kind of constraints happening in the parks, because it's been really a stressful thing for park staff to address things with ticket pricing, because Bob Chapek, I guess he was kind of behind a lot of the raised ticket pricing that was happening.
How do you raise the ticket prices at Disneyland as well? They're already extortionate.
And then kind of the Genie Pass and those kinds of things. So he is having a town hall to really just hear people out. So I think that's a great step to kind of show that he's, you know, really at least open to hearing the concerns. He's aware of the concerns of the people that work for Disney, and he has respect enough to kind of want to hear them out to make some positive changes. So I think a town hall is a great kind of first step for him, kind of getting right back into to really kind of seeing what the problems are coming from the people who are the backbone of the company, and then kind of getting to work into seeing how to improve things. So I think that's a great first step and a great step of goodwill in terms of people kind of feeling comfortable with this kind of reverse of power that's happening. So
the thing is, he already knows what he's doing.
Yes,
he's already
and the fact that he was on as a consultant, I'm sure he was privy to kind of everything that was happening the whole time Chapek was in control. So
yeah, I mean it's certainly quite nice. I think that we don't have. I mean, think about the two. Who do people view as the two big competing studios in Hollywood? It's always Disney and Warner. Disney and Warner. We don't need two lunatics at the head of them.
We don't know Zorboff.
We've already got Zorboff. At least now we have Bob Iger back at Disney, who has always come across, like I said, I don't know massive amounts of details, but he's always come across as quite a positive CEO. He wants to, you know, promote progressiveness. He wants to promote kind of ease of access and things like this, rather than cutting down on. It was this whole Bob Chapek cutting down on animation thing that really bothered me, because this is Disney, literally the company built on animation. You just don't do that, do you? That's got to be a rule. Is that not written? Is that not engraved underneath? Like all the seven dwarves holding up the building? You must not stop doing animation.
Yeah.
Surely it must be. And I don't think that certainly won't be the case anymore. I don't think, will it? But yeah, we don't need two of them. Zorboff can do what Zorboff's doing and
Warner
weird
Brothers
people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Bob Iger's back, and I think this is
a good step.
A good step, as much as things with when we're discussing, like I said, when we're discussing CEOs of enormous monopolizing corporations can be a good thing. I think this is on the good spectrum.
Yes,
not on the bad spectrum.
A positive thing for sure. Yeah.
But yes. There we go, I think, Jeannine. I think it's time to get into our Let's Talk, which today is actually just going to be our main review.
Yes.
Because we both saw Luca Guadagnino's new movie, Bones and All.
Yes.
With everybody's favourite human triangle, which is my sign today, by the way, is the human triangle. Timothee Chalamet.
Yes.
And Taylor Russell and Mark Rylance. And in a very, very, very ploddingly paced, quite haunting, I suppose, is a good word to use for Bones and All. Fairly bleak, ridiculously heavily emotional cannibal romance movie.
Yes. So in terms of innovative kind of original ideas, I think this was a really kind of interesting take on a story. You kind of have these people who exist as eaters, that it's just an inherent thing they're born with. They can't really help it.
And it's kind of generational. We come to learn, isn't it?
Yes, it's something that is kind of passes down through a family member. And I think it's an interesting kind of character study to have it not just be people who like to eat people. It's literally an inherent part of your nature that you can't control and you have to feed it. So yeah, a very kind of interesting original story idea, I think, and one I was really curious about. And I think I maybe misconstrued elements of the trailer a little bit, because this is kind of the story that I got from the trailer. Is, this girl has this thing where she has to eat people. She's now on her own. She meets Timothee Chalamet. They kind of fall in love, and they're a bit of not so much a Bonnie and Clyde, but they're kind of just on the run and kind of have made up their own rules in terms of how they handle their need for eating, right? And they meet Mark Rylance, and he's kind of a wiser eater, so he kind of lays out some ground rules for them that it's not good to ever eat other eaters. And then we meet kind of our redneck eaters, played by Michael Stuhlbarg and David Gordon Green, director of the new Halloween trilogy.
And I do think, and now David Gordon Green and Michael Stuhlbarg are actually only in like one scene, really, of the whole movie.
The trailer for me made it seem like they were eaters who broke those rules and didn't care about eating other eaters. So that this was going to be a situation now where our couple in love was going to have to kind of be on the run from these two characters, and then it was not any of that at all.
I don't know if then maybe the US and the UK got slightly different trailers then, because I don't necessarily remember thinking that. I must say I kind of viewed it as an on the run type movie. Maybe they had, their desire, precisely, their desire to feed had overcome them, and they had reasonably publicly eaten somebody and had to flee, basically. I did think that was going to be the majority of the movie, but it's not entirely about that. I mean, it's a little bit like that. There's certainly drifters. There's certainly, just kind of randomly going from place to place, but certainly Taylor Russell, our female lead, has her kind of emotional goal, and she's looking for her mother that she's never known.
Who she's realizing she got this from.
Exactly.
And she wants to understand it.
Her dad, who we are with at the beginning of the movie, is played by that guy from Moonlight.
Yeah.
Who I always think should be playing Marvin Gaye in the biopic of Marvin Gaye.
That is good.
If there was ever one. I just think he would fit that perfectly. And he kind of looks a little bit like Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I apologize for that noise I just made. I'm trying to hold in a cough, I think, for some reason. But no, I think he's great again in this movie. It's heavy with emotion. Throughout this
heartbreaking that he has to leave her because he's just at his wit's end. He doesn't know what to do. He can't control her. He doesn't want to restrict her from living her life, but the fact that he can't control her, and so it's like this tiring effort of having to pack up and move all the time just to try to have some normalcy. He just can't do it anymore. He can't help her anymore. And she doesn't listen to him really. So
no, it's really quite shocking when we first see her feed in this movie, really, because it kind of opens. She's at school. She's kind of half trying to make friends. She's clearly new at this school.
Yeah.
They invite her to kind of a sleepover situation. And she goes, and they she sneaks out, really, because she's kind of not supposed to be allowed out. And they seem to be having a perfectly nice time, right up until the point one of the girls puts their fingers too close to her mouth, and she just eats the thing.
Chomps it up, yeah.
She just straight up just starts munching on the girl's finger.
Yeah.
And let's call it what it is as well. This is an exceedingly gory movie at times.
Yes.
And so it should be. I mean, it's not a horror movie.
No, but
it's a tragic romance, if anything else. I suppose Luca Guadagnino quite likes a tragic romance, doesn't he? Especially one starring Timothee Chalamet.
Yeah.
I think he's got a real interesting aesthetic as a movie maker, though. I really do love that he takes a lot of time with his movies. Nothing in this movie is rushed remotely.
No.
Everything's so you could quite easily call it slow. If you were thinking of the word slow as a positive, call it slow, because it's a very slow movie. It does not rush a single damn thing.
You get to breathe through this, and I like that.
A lot. You move really smoothly from kind of situation to situation, meeting
month to month, place to place.
Yeah, meeting these different characters. Mark Rylance, who comes across as really kind of creepy in this movie, and later on in the movie, we kind of understand why he's comes across originally as a little bit creepy. It's because he kind of really is.
Yeah.
Again, Mark Rylance is doing his kind of stuttery, weird thing with his mouth and with his voice.
Scary old man. I'm just a sad old man, Mark Rylance. I'm a sad old man.
I actually think he fits the role really well, though.
Yes.
I do think he fits
just
this
kind
role
of
really
looking for a companion who will understand him.
Because it's a movie about severe, crippling loneliness.
Yes.
Addiction. It's treated, the need to feed, the cannibalism is treated as an addiction that they're treated as junkies almost, aren't they? They're thought of as
like
junkies.
Timothee Chalamet's character is described as a junkie, like someone saying, I can sense it, that he's a junkie. He thinks, he thinks he has it under control, but he really doesn't,
Yeah. And it's really about the kind of fragility of, I suppose, personal control, the fragility of emotion, and really mainly kind of loneliness. It gives you hope in elements. In certain times of the movie, you feel a kind of wave of positivity,
Yes,
that
like maybe
keep.
there's hope for a more normal life. Maybe, we can actually maybe feel some type of guilt for what we're doing because, through a lot of it, they don't feel bad for what they're doing. But
No, because they
I think,
realize it's just simply what they have to do. They're kind of trying to think of it like that.
yeah, but I think our lead, she starts to feel bad that she doesn't feel bad. So
She does.
she starts kind of building this kind of moral rule for herself.
Yeah. And because she doesn't really know any clarity on why she is the way she is, it's more difficult for her.
Yeah.
Like, Chalamet is aware of why he is the way he is. He's got his own past
Yeah.
difficulties that he kind of has to,
Navigate.
over the course of the movie, has to navigate, has to not get over, but confront.
Front, yes, because he's very much avoidant of why he is the way he is and his past.
But he doesn't know why. And Taylor Russell doesn't really even know why. She just is, and that's her struggle. When she
Yes, because her
meets
father wouldn't. Yeah, her father would
yeah,
never tell her anything about her mother.
when she meets Mark Rylance for the first time, she's kind of overwhelmed by him because he's so sure of himself. He knows exactly kind of what he's doing as this older eater who's clearly been
Yes,
doing it for decades.
even the fact that he could smell her and she didn't even realize that that was a sense that she could use like that.
Yeah. And he has this kind of strict rule. He doesn't eat other eaters.
Yeah.
He also has this really creepy braid of hair
Yes, when
that
he eats somebody, he takes their hair and braids it into this long kind of strand as to remember each person.
there's some really uncomfortable scenes with Mark Rylance in this movie. I
Yeah.
do think he's giving a brilliantly uncomfortable performance.
Yes.
I really do. I really did appreciate what he was doing in this movie, to be fair. And as much as I make fun of Chalamet for being the human triangle that he is, because he does look like a Dorito, if you look at the shape of his face,
Oh,
I
no.
really do like him as an actor. I always like him when I see him
Yes.
in movies.
Yeah.
I think he's wonderful, and I think
He's
he's
great.
great in this as well. I think him and Luca Guadagnino clearly work really well together, clearly
Mhm. Yeah.
get on, clearly understand each other.
And the
And
vision for the story, yeah.
yeah, but the lead is Taylor Russell. She is our protagonist, and she's
Yeah.
doing a phenomenal job herself. There's one particularly horrible crying scene in the movie where she's got snot all over her face. It's really disgusting.
Yeah, it got some reactions from my crowd for sure. Yeah, and he just kind of leaves that on the screen
He does.
because
He
it's
does.
just real,
It's a raw movie. It
Yeah,
feels
it's very
very
real.
raw. It feels very real. For being obviously about a group of inherent addicted cannibals, it's one of the most realistic kind of cannibal movies you can remember. I can remember seeing. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, and I mean that in terms of the fact they actually feel like human beings and not like villains.
Yes.
They because they do very much feel like just addicts, and I think that's a really interesting
Yeah.
angle to put it. It reminds me of the movie Ganja and Hess, which is it's a vampire movie, 1973 with Dwayne Jones from Night of the Living Dead, and Bill Gunn directed this movie. He also actually stars in the movie, but you think it's kind of a more highbrow version of Blackula, and it's not. It's a movie about a vampire's addiction to blood. It's about addiction. They're treated very much as drug
Yeah.
addicts in that movie.
It's something they just can't control, but they want to. And I like that um her father, she's listening to these tapes gradually, and when it gets kind of too difficult, she kind of just cuts it off. So we're, as the audience, are getting little segments of her story
Yeah.
with along with her. And so even him, who knows her probably the best, he's even understanding of the fact that he's like, even when you did these things, you didn't seem guilty or sad about it. But I could tell that, like, if you didn't want, if you could choose to not be this, you would choose to not be this.
Exactly.
So the fact that he's able to kind of see that about her, we can see her as not a villain, because somebody who knows her the best understands that it's just something unavoidable, something she cannot help.
It's just such a sad movie at times, such a tragic movie at times. Because, like we said, it gives you these shreds of hope.
Yes, that a normal, happy life is attainable.
It's like, I think it's about 3/4 of the way through the movie that you just feel like, oh my God, this might have a really happy ending.
Yeah.
And it just kills you when it doesn't.
Yeah.
It just really kills you when it doesn't. I felt every pang of pain in my heart for these characters, and I think it's beautiful that I did that. It's a beautifully made movie. It's a beautiful to look at movie.
It looks great, and we're kind of just driving across America with them, seeing these beautiful kind of landscapes and being on the road, and you feel it. And even kind of the camera, like the shaking of the truck. We're following the truck, and the camera's shaking, so you feel like you're kind of in the truck with them. Like these really interesting camera moves, and just showing us kind of these lush landscapes, and just you really feel like you're on this journey with them.
And even the scenes of feeding, they feel quite, they're not condemned, are they? They feel quite intimate. They feel like very personal kind of scenes. They feel like not necessarily like you're spying on someone doing something, but you feel like you're watching someone doing something they don't do in public, but you feel like you're watching someone doing something that's very important to them. And,
yes, well, no, I agree.
Just kind of something for them.
Just for them. Yes, when you say intimate, I definitely agree with that. There are scenes where, we see kind of them lean in for the first bite, and then the camera will cut away to the area, and you'll just hear, and then the sound design is just, you hear them chewing and biting and sucking, and, you just hear the sounds of them eating.
It could be nasty. You could view it as really, really nasty.
It's very visceral and
very visceral,
and a bit animalistic, and very kind of nature. They try to make it feel like.
I also think it does what a lot of great kind of cannibal movies tend to, is really put you off eating meat. A lot of cannibal movies, when you actually think about it, are really kind of pro-vegan and things like this. I remember Raw, the movie Raw, Julia Ducournau, 2016, the French movie, is just the most pro-vegan movie possible. The main character is a vegetarian right up until she becomes a cannibal.
Oh my God.
And she's at vet school, and she's really uncomfortable around the blood. It's a great movie, a coming of age movie, but a coming of age movie that involves being a cannibal. There's actually talk about intimacy. This movie doesn't necessarily go this far with it, but there is a scene in Raw of her, our lead girl, performing oral intimacy on another girl, but just eating her instead.
Oh my gosh! Oh.
Yeah, it's really, it's nasty. I mean, Luca Guadagnino, I suppose, is treating cannibals sensitively without any kind of elements of horror. There's no elements of horror in this movie. Julia Ducournau is a weirdo who likes making body horror movies. I look at Titane as well. I don't know if you saw that. The movie about the car baby. The woman who has intimate relations with a car.
Oh, yes. I've heard of that, yes.
Another French is Julia Ducournau. I think she's great. I want to see every movie she makes. It's deeply, deeply original. And nobody's got a brain like her in kind of modern horror, because there are elements of horror, but kind of dramatic, very dramatic horror, very kind
Yes.
of emotional horror.
Yeah.
So it doesn't quite get that far, Bones, at all
Yes.
in terms of
Yes, I think it teeters the
nastiness.
line, and I think it teeters the line of, like, you think it might be veering towards feeling horror, and then it goes
Yeah.
it steps away from the line.
Certainly when Michael Stuhlbarg and David Gordon Green do show up for that one
Yeah.
scene, I think that, I mean, why have they got such creepy faces, both of them?
Actually lit by
Just
firelight.
just naturally creepy
Yeah.
faces. I never realized how unsettling David Gordon Green's smile was.
Yeah.
It's really creepy. I mean, Michael
Yeah.
Stuhlbarg, okay, I understand it there, especially when he's dressed like the way he is in this movie.
Yeah.
I can't even describe what he looks like. He looks like Leatherface's long-lost twin.
Yeah.
He looks just like the most unclean person you've ever seen in your
Yes, he
entire
looks very
life.
dirty. He looks very dirty. But yes, and then I think also lighting them with firelight and kind of, that whole kind of, campfire look of telling a
Yeah.
creepy story, and
And that's
the
what they're doing in that
the
scene, I
the
suppose, isn't
kind of
it? They're
very
telling a
creepy
story.
angles it flashes on your face, and yeah.
Yeah. You do feel pretty scared in that sense, because you do feel like Michael Stuhlbarg is the kind of eater that has no
Has
rules.
no qualms about eating other eaters. So yes, like in the trailer when they kind of showed them, and then like I think when they showed them, you heard the voiceover of Michael or of Mark Rylance kind of saying the line about you never eat other eaters. So that's
Ah,
I think
okay.
where I got that. So I thought it was going to be a bit of a kind of a Doctor Sleep thing, like you have your gang of
Ah, okay.
eaters
Yeah.
who don't care about those rules, and
Okay.
will consume others like them.
It's just a fascinating movie. I
Yes.
felt so heavily with this movie. I knew I would kind of be into it. I just didn't know how much it would emotionally affect me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm glad about that or not. Like, why is this movie about a cannibal romance so heartbreaking?
Yeah.
It's because it's just brilliantly made. It's not an easy movie to watch. I think it's a
No,
really
no.
tough movie. But my God, is it a wonderful movie?
And you're just kind of wondering, where is this going to go? Is there hope at the end of this?
And you
Um,
want there to be. You
yes,
stick to that. You
yeah,
try and stick to that. Even at the ending, there's kind of, it almost ends with the attitude of, just for a minute, we had it all.
yeah,
And you kind of just got to stick with that.
yeah.
I think even
You
that's what
hold on to that hope. Yeah,
the kind of final song of the movie that plays over this final scene
yeah,
and the end credits. I think the main lyrics of that are something very similar to kind of, for a moment we had it all,
yeah,
and that is just the thinnest shred of hope,
yeah.
or the thinnest shred of positivity you can possibly gain. But it's at least trying to keep that. It's not descending into just pure negativity. You still have that little tiny bit
The shred of hope. Yeah.
of hope that eventually, it will be okay for our
Yes.
lead character.
You can carve out a space for yourself in this world where people tell you you can't,
Yeah.
and yeah, you feel that
But
for a moment.
and you can have those ideas about anything. You can put any kind of outsider into this sense. Just doesn't necessarily have to be a cannibal, could it? You can view this as a depiction of anybody that society deems
An outsider,
other,
or yes,
you
or
know?
someone with some kind of addiction, that some
Yeah.
uncontrollable thing, you know.
That it would be easy to just get rid of.
Yeah.
It would be easy to just shun, but they're still people.
Yeah.
Everybody's a human, no matter how, no matter if you like to eat other humans or not.
Or not. Yeah.
No matter if you look like a
People are
triangle, or
people.
people are
They're
people.
terrible.
People are people. Why am I terrible? Why is that terrible?
Oh, Timothee in his triangle face.
Timothee Chalamet is a triangle. He is a triangle. But no, I really, really, really liked this movie. I don't necessarily think I'll be jumping to watch it again just because of how heavy it is.
Yeah.
Well, anytime soon at least, but I will certainly be telling everybody to go and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many interesting quiet moments in something that is so kind of animalistic and dangerous and carnal, but you still have these kind of very still moments somehow.
Yes. Yeah. And again, beautifully paced, beautiful to look at. Guadagnino's a great director.
Yeah.
And he's got a distinct vision, a distinct style.
Yeah.
And I always like that. You know, when you've made 4 or 5 movies or 3 or 4 movies, however many he's made now, and they're all similar in tone and style.
Yeah.
You've got yourself a great director there. You've got yourself a great consistent director. And we need more of them in an original sense, and Guadagnino fits into that perfectly.
Yeah, I believe this was based on a book, so you know, I don't know how solid of an adaptation it was, but
well, that's right. Actually, I've forgotten about that.
Yeah. So, but in terms of just seeing something different, something a bit original, something that's not, you know, a remake of something else or something that's super in the populace, it was a very beautiful film.
I'd actually forgotten it was a remake. I hope none of my final statement there is nullified by the fact it's actually a novel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's a great movie. Please go and see Bones and All.
Yeah.
It's you know, if you're not full enough from your Thanksgiving meal last week, if you're in America, you might be feeling full. Make some room for people. Yes, wonderful. With a big yay. Great. We should be the advertising board for Bones and All.
We should.
More accurate than the trailer by the sounds of it, Jeannine. I mean,
yes. I don't know if I just was projecting my own kind of imagination on it. I don't know.
I don't know. But yes, there we go, I think, for our Let's Talk today. Jeannine, we do have some fun and games, though, of course, to finish off today's show. We are keeping the cannibal nature going into the game. We are referring to it as people who eat people, and we're actually playing a game of 6 degrees today because it's been a little while since we have. I'm terrible at 6 degrees, as we all know, so Jeannine will win.
So if you picked movies that I don't know who's in them, then I'm gonna have.
I don't think I have. I think I've realized you kind of know these movies.
Okay.
They certainly all are about or have people in them who eat other people.
Yes.
So, you know, if they're not entirely cannibal movies at all, they at least have scenes of people eating people to a certain degree.
Yes.
So that is kind of what we're dealing with here. I think we both have 3 each.
Yes.
We're going to have to figure out. And knowing me, if I simply cannot realize, I will take as many clues as possible just to get wherever, or just go, I can't do it, Jeannine.
Okay.
I can't do it.
All right.
Okay, would you like to go first?
Yes, you give me one first.
Okay.
Like to guess first.
I do not care. By the way, I do not care how many steps you take. I do not care how many steps you take. I would like you to get from the movie Bone Tomahawk, 2015, to the movie Hannibal from 2001.
Okay.
Hannibal, of course, Hannibal Lecter.
Yes. Who's in Bone Tomahawk? Kurt Russell's in Bone Tomahawk. Christian Bale is in Bone Tomahawk. So need to get to maybe Hopkins, maybe Julianne Moore.
There's a few in old Hannibal.
Okay. Kurt Russell was
Russell
in
has a wonderful
Bone
mustache
Tomahawk.
in Bone Tomahawk.
He was in Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2.
He was, yes, he was.
With
many people.
With Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, yes.
Who was in Endgame with Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Who was in Thor Ragnarok with Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
Who was in The Kids Are All Right with Julianne Moore. Who was in Hannibal.
I mean, you could have just got straight for Hopkins.
Oh my God! Duh!
but you've put some extra steps in there just for cleverness. I always
do that. Duh. Anthony Hopkins is in the MCU.
But well done. Yes, well done, Jeannine. That was good.
A moron.
That was good.
I did it. Okay.
It worked.
Yours is Sin City, because we do have a character who likes to eat people.
Yeah.
To 28 Days Later.
Ooh. Okay. Well, let's actually go for the character who likes to eat people in Sin City then, because I believe it's Elijah Wood.
Yes.
So Elijah Wood was in. Let's go for Lord of the Rings.
Ooh,
I can get to 28 Days Later from Lord of the Rings. Surely I can. 28 Days Later, as though that counts as a people eating people movie.
It is a people eating people. Technically, they're not undead zombies. They are just infected with a virus.
Fine. So Elijah Wood was in Lord of the Rings. He was. Who was he in Lord of the Rings with that I can quite easily get to 28 Days Later? And 28 Days Later, Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, Brendan Gleeson, Christopher Eccleston is in 28 Days Later. And I need to go Lord of the Rings. Are any of and none of those are in Lord of the Rings? Are any of those in something Lord of the Rings adjacent? Who else is in Lord of the Rings? Who's in Lord of the Rings that's in Harry Potter? And I'll just go straight for Brendan Gleeson. Who's in Lord of the Rings that's in Harry Potter? Oh my God. There's got to be people. There has to be. If there's not, I'm going to be devastated if I can't think. Oh, this is horrendous already, isn't it?
Okay.
This is horrendous already.
Do you want to know?
No. No.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want my first bridge? Will that help you?
Yes.
I went Sin City, Elijah to Bruce Willis.
Oh, so you went to Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis doesn't help me anywhere near as much as Lord of the Rings helps me.
Okay.
I'm so terrible. It takes so long for me. I can't think. I'm pressurized. Lord of the Rings. There's so many people in Lord of the Rings.
There are.
Lord of the Rings with no. Lord of the Rings. Oh no. Lord of the Rings, for God's sake, it's horrible. This is just horrible. Oh, I can't think. Why can't I think?
Okay.
Why can't I think at all? I'm struggling to think of anybody in Lord of the Rings. Just anybody in Lord of the Rings who's in 28 Days Later. I don't know if I'm trying to go too narrow with it.
Will Ian help you, maybe?
Well, Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen's in what else? He does Lord of the Rings. He does X-Men. Does X-Men help me? Does X-Men help me get to 28 Days Later? Does X-Men help me get to 28 Days Later? No. I don't think it does. Does it? Does it? I'm so confused. Oh, just tell me. I'm so terrible.
I mean, you could try to go through
People are getting annoyed. I can feel, I can sense people are getting annoyed.
Okay. Well, my bridge was Elijah to Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was in The Sixth Sense with Toni Collette. Toni Collette was in Knives Out with Daniel Craig, and Daniel Craig was in Skyfall with Naomi Harris.
Oh, yes. Oh, my brain just goes.
No,
I feel pressure.
I like where you were going, but
I feel so much pressure. I just wanted to bridge from Lord of the Rings to Harry Potter and couldn't. Why couldn't I? There's got to be
somebody.
There has to be.
I would have thought to go to maybe Batman. Somehow.
Oh, Cillian Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah, of course he is. Scarecrow. Yeah, I could have tried going to Batman, couldn't I? Could I have gone to Batman? Sin City. Who else is in Sin City? I don't know. I'm not thinking about it now. It's been and gone. I've failed. I'm terrible. I'm so disappointed in myself, Jeannine. Oh, can you get from Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street?
That's a good one.
To Bones and All.
Oh, shittles me. Okay. Let's see. Sweeney Todd. We have Johnny Depp. We have Helena Bonham Carter. Let's see. Okay, so to Bones and All. Okay. To Bones and All. Okay. It's gotta be somebody who was in. Okay, I'm thinking Mark Rylance would be my best.
I just think you've got a couple of useful people in Bones and All.
Yes.
You do.
Oh, I got Michael Stuhlbarg. Okay, let's see. Okay. Sweeney Todd. Johnny Depp was in a billion things.
Quite a lot of things, yes.
People.
quite a lot of things. Probably not going to be in anything anytime soon.
No. Oh, can I go that way? Can I make a British connection somehow?
That is exactly what I tried to just do.
Okay, Gary Oldman. No, Alan Rickman was in.
Alan Rickman
was in.
He was in Sweeney Todd. Yes, he was.
In Harry Potter films.
He was. He was.
Okay, wait. No, Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes.
Was in.
Also the Harry Potter films.
Yes, with what's her name? Oh my gosh.
See, 6 Degrees comes with an awful lot of pressure and annoyance.
It does. Okay, Helena Bonham Carter was in. What's that movie? I mean, what's her name?
Whose name?
Professor Trelawney.
Emma Thompson.
Emma Thompson was in Harry Potter, whatever. See, because I can't even think which movie. With Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson was in. How do we get to?
Why have you gone for Emma Thompson?
I don't know.
I don't come up with them either. I was just convinced you were going to just.
I know. I don't like that. I don't know that. I don't like that you don't have a backup way for me to kind of.
I don't have a backup.
You don't even try.
Have a backup at all.
Even try. You're not.
I'm not very good at it. I just come up with things that sound like they'd work.
Yes, I know you do. Emma Thompson was in
I just think, can you get, again, with everything, can you get to the MCU? Because then you can get to Michael Stuhlbarg.
I know he's in the MCU. Okay. Okay. Well, that's helpful, I guess. Maybe.
It's always useful.
Alan Rickman. But how do I get to the MCU from Sweeney Todd?
You can go a few bridges.
Okay. Johnny Depp was in Pirates of the Caribbean with Zoe Saldana, who was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
There you go.
Or who was in Avengers.
Yeah.
Infinity War with Benedict Cumberbatch, who was in Doctor Strange with Michael Stuhlbarg.
There you go. There you go. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It works. It works.
You. Thank you for giving me that little hint of something. Sorry that took a long time.
No, oh God. I have another one to try and do now.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, that doesn't count. Okay.
I think we stopped. I asked you several times.
Yes, you did.
Movies count
yes, you did.
Because technically it's people eating people. Two warm bodies.
Ooh. Well, I don't remember anybody but Nicholas Hoult actually whose names in warm bodies, so I'll have to try and get to Nicholas Hoult from Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, you have one big name other than Nicholas Hoult. So
who? Oh, it's the villain, isn't it? Who's the villain in Warm Bodies? The girl's dad. Who's the girl's dad? I'll have to go to Nicholas Hoult. I can't remember. Who it is.
Okay.
What am I starting with?
Nicholas Hoult.
No, what am I starting with?
Oh, Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. There's loads of people in Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead stars. It stars. It's oh dear. It stars. Oh, why am I so terrible? I can't think. My mind just goes completely blank.
Who's the star of Shaun of the Dead?
I know who the star of Shaun of the Dead is, but I don't know where to go from there. It could be anywhere. I could go to Star Trek. Go Simon Pegg to Star Trek. I could go to Star Trek, and from Star Trek, I could try and get to Nicholas Hoult. Oh, that's a disgusting possibility. I can't do it. I'm really bad. I'm really bad at knowing who's in who. I can't do it. This is so shameful. Who's your first one? I need a clue.
My first one is Simon Pegg.
But with who?
To Tom Cruise.
To Tom Cruise. Oh, Mission Impossible. To Tom Cruise. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to waste time. I feel like I'm wasting time. I feel like people are just getting annoyed at this point.
Or they've just figured it out. If you figured it out before these, or you have a better kind of bridge, put them in the comments below.
Please leave them.
Because I was an idiot. I literally could have just hopped from Anthony Hopkins in the MCU to the movie, and I went to like 3 more steps than that.
Shame me for doing this. I mean, Shaun of the Dead, I could also go for like Bill Nye, who's in About Time.
Mm-hmm.
With Donald Gleason, who's in Star Wars, with Surely somebody that's been in something with Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult is a problem because Nicholas Holt's the only person I can remember by name from Warm Bodies. That's why.
You have X-Men.
I know I have X-Men, but I can't get to X-Men from what I'm trying to get to. I can't. I'm struggling to get to X-Men.
About a boy.
I know, but I can't get to Hugh Grant.
How do you know?
I'm really struggling to get
They're all British people.
I'm really struggling to get to Nicholas Hoult.
There's got to be some British bridge between.
I know, but I don't know the movies.
And...
I really don't know. I'm struggling.
Okay,
please just tell me.
Yes. Okay, I went Simon Pegg to Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3, Tom Cruise to Cameron Diaz in Vanilla Sky, Cameron Diaz in Being John Malkovich, with John Malkovich, who is in Warm Bodies.
John Malkovich.
Yes.
Oh, God, okay. Yes, well, for your last one, Jeannine, for your last one, can you get from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they do eat people, well, one person, they eat a cooked person,
yes,
to Soylent Green? Yes.
You're
Ones
awful.
Morgan could actually do because they're of a time when Morgan knows who's in movies and not random ones from the 2000s, like Vanilla Sky.
Susan Sarandon is in. Oh, maybe I should try to go a little bit older. I don't know who's been in things with Charlton Heston. He's the only person I know from Soylent Green.
No, he isn't. Edward G. Robinson's in Soylent Green.
I know that, but
Chuck Connors is in Soylent Green. Chuck Connors is a deeply unuseful person.
Yes, very.
Who else is in Soylent Green? Joseph Cotton is in Soylent Green.
You're the worst person ever.
Brock Peters is in Soylent Green. Try and get to Planet of the Apes. Can you get to Planet of the Apes?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do.
Or any Edward G. Robinson movie.
I'm trying to think if Edward G. Robinson was in that Capra movie. A Hole in the Head. I think he was in that. Frank Sinatra. Let's see. So there's Susan Sarandon and Tim Curry. Those are literally the only people I can name, probably from Rocky Horror.
Not useful people though.
Tim, no. How to get to Planet of the Apes from there? Susan Sarandon was in. Susan Sarandon in.
Susan Sarandon was in Thelma and Louise.
And Louise, yes.
Well, that's probably not very useful.
No, not really.
Now,
Susan Sarandon was in Rocky Horror.
Yes.
Then she was in Thelma and Louise with Brad Pitt, who was in Interview with a Vampire with Tom Cruise, who was in... Oh my gosh, I had a point to this. I was going somewhere with this. Tom Cruise, who was in Mission Impossible 2 with Anthony Hopkins, who was in Transformers the First Night, I think it's called, with Mark Wahlberg, who was in Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston.
Wow. I can't believe you've actually gone for that Planet of the Apes either. Well done. Well done.
which I believe he has a uncredited role as Dr. Zeus in the Tim Burton one. Okay, well, mine is mine is very. It uses two movies that you used on me. Soylent Green.
Yes.
To Hannibal.
To Hannibal. Soylent Green to Hannibal. Who should I use from Soylent Green? I will use. Who should I use from Soylent Green? I kind of do want to use. I want to test myself and either use Edward G. Robinson or Joseph Cotton. I'm going to use Edward G. Robinson.
Okay,
I'm going to use Edward G. Robinson, and I want to try and test myself here. How well do I know specific casts from such a time? Because I can get to Hannibal quite easily. Anthony Hopkins, and I only have to get to The Lion in Winter. So I only have to get to Katharine Hepburn. I only have to get to Katharine Hepburn from Edward G. Robinson, and surely I can do that.
Okay.
Surely I can do that, because Edward G. Robinson was in. He was in. Oh God. Katharine Hepburn. Let's work backwards. It makes more sense to me working backwards. Hepburn, let's go. What's a useful Hepburn? Ooh, no. No, what's a useful Hepburn movie? A useful Katharine Hepburn movie, not just a pure Katharine Hepburn movie.
It has to be something that she was in with Edward G. Robinson.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yes, well, that's how you're getting out of Soylent Green.
No, because Edward G. Robinson can be in something with anybody who can be in something with Hepburn.
Okay, well then you have to find that.
So I can go Edward G. Robinson, Double Indemnity. Fred McMurray. Why have I gone for Fred McMurray? The Apartment, Jack Lemmon. Why have I gone for Jack Lemmon? Some Like It Hot. I'm all over the place. I'm just naming movies at this point. Tony Curtis. Okay. Tony Curtis is going to be useful to get to. Tony Curtis. Spartacus. Spartacus has got to be useful. Spartacus has to be useful. Charlton Heston's not in Spartacus. No, he's not in Spartacus. Spartacus. I'm not even looking at Charlton Heston. Why am I even thinking about Charlton Heston?
Yes, Spartacus. But you can definitely use that, I think.
Who's in Spartacus? Apart from Kirk Douglas. Stop picturing Kirk Douglas. I can only picture Kirk Douglas. I've got Kirk Douglas's ridiculously large chest.
Yes, I'm saying Kirk Douglas in on a movie with lots of people.
Kirk Douglas. Oh.
One of them I would assume has to have been in a movie. So you could go in it with Hepburn.
Oh. Yeah, but one of those is also Tony Curtis. And it would be pointless me having gone through Spartacus at this point, because one of those is actually already Tony Curtis.
Okay, so
Hepburn. Now let me just check something. I'm sorry. I'm cheating. I am cheating.
It's the last one. I will allow it.
I'm cheating, and I've taken so long.
Well, you wanted to be a smart ass and go through.
I did.
An old Hollywood actor.
Shush.
Oh, I'm gonna try to go through Edward G. Robinson.
Oh God. Who's in? Oh dear. Oh, this is the worst. Oh, this is horrible.
Charles Lawton. In the list of Adrian
Charles Lawton.
Messenger.
Spartacus. Charles Lawton's in Spartacus. Charles Lawton was in. I'm going around in circles. I'm going around in circles. I can't. I'm completely going around in circles. Peter O'Toole. Lawrence of Arabia. Alec Guinness. Alec Guinness. I'm all over the place. I'm absolutely all over the place. Omar Sharif, Dr. Zhivago. I'm useless. I'm useless. Useless. I'm absolutely useless. Please just tell me yours. I can't do them. I feel so much pressure.
I did Charlton Heston because, so he was in the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg was in that Transformers the last night with Anthony Hopkins in Hannibal.
See, I don't know any of these things.
That's what I just did them in mine.
I know,
so I thought you would have used, but you wanted to be fancy.
I know, but I had faith in myself, and I had unfound faith in myself, and I apologize to everybody.
You were doing something. I was getting excited there for a minute. But
I have no brain power left at this point for some reason.
Please let us know in the comments if you did better than both of us,
because you definitely did.
You were pretty sloppy, so
it was horrendous. That was truly horrendous.
Gets really sloppy.
Oh dear. Well, we have come to the end of another wonderful episode of Monday Madness. I've certainly had a lot of fun, even though I just shame myself in these 6 movies. I cannot think of people quickly.
It's okay.
I just have a real problem.
The effort is there.
Thinking of people quickly.
I mean, you help me think of people, but you can't help yourself. Some reason.
I really can't. But yes, it's been another great show of Monday Madness. It certainly has. It is not the only thing you can find on this YouTube channel. If you are watching, of course, this show. We have lots of things here. We have reviews, we have retro trailer reactions, my movie collection, where I actually do and can talk about the movies that are in front of me, because I actually, I remember things at that point when I've got time to actually sit and think.
Yes.
I feel like I can actually remember certain things. Morgan's movie collection is here. We have watch-alongs. We have a whole bunch of other stuff on this YouTube channel. Subscribe, ding your notification bells for all the fun stuff we have here. If you are, of course, listening to this show on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, where you can find it on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, CastBox, everywhere else, Amazon Music as well. For this show every Monday, Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday, and It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, every Friday. On all those platforms there. Morgan Hasn't Seen. We are, of course, starting to get into some holiday horror during December, but we do have one Spielberg movie left to go before that, and of course it will be holiday season all throughout December on the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, as well. So get excited for all that. There you could find all those where I've told you to find all those. I tell you, my brain has completely ceased to be at this point.
That's why we have our nice little tickers scrolling by with all our information.
Yes, there is a Patreon link, a donation link in the description down below if you would like to support us that way, because we can't do what we do without the generous support of our wonderful patrons. We love them dearly. Yes. And if you would like to join them, follow those links in the description. Whether you are watching or listening, they are there on either platform. Or, of course, on Twitter, you can find the show at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on Twitter at The Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram at The Purple Don. All your lovely stuff is where.
You can find me at Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can find them at our Teespring shop. We have some awesome designs over there, all the logos for our shows, including some fun Stranger Things designs, so please check it out there. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop, GNNdesign.BigCartel.com.
There we go. I do think there is only one thing left to do. Do you want to do that weird Rylance voice that he's doing in Bones and all, if you can? That was ridiculous.
It was.
But